All right, think of this as an algebra review lesson. So maybe it'll be really easy. Maybe you'll remember everything. Maybe you won't. So we're going to go over everything, make sure that we hit the high pieces of what you learned in Algebra 1, and hopefully all of it just comes rushing back to you and you don't have to try to fight to remember it. Okay? So this should look familiar. The coordinate plane, we know it has four quadrants. So, like, this is quadrant 1, this is quadrant 2, this is 3, and this is 4. Okay? The x-axis goes across, the y-axis goes up and down. Positive x is to the right, negative x is to the left, positive y up, negative y down. Okay, so when you graph a point, you need to make sure that you put it in the right place. Okay, so let's remind ourselves just to make sure. So point A is 2, 3. So we go over 2, up 3. This is point A. Okay, hopefully you remember this. Point B is negative 8 zeros. We go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and then nothing up or down. Point C, negative 4, 5. Point D is 2, 0. Point E, negative 6, negative 3. Point F, 0, 4. Just go up 4. Point G, you go over 3 and down 7. And point H is just down 5. Okay, make sure that all of those points make sense on how I got them to the right place. Okay, because that's kind of a big deal. All right, this should look familiar. This is slope-intercept form of a line. You know that M is the slope, and you know that B is the y-intercept. So when we graph, we start at B, and then we use the slope and go up and over or down and right or whatever. Okay? This is important. You're going to see this in every math class you ever take. All right, this equation should look familiar. Slope has two forms. Okay? Slope is rise over run, and I like to say use this when you graph, because we rise and then we run. We go up 2 over 3. We go down 5 over 6. Something like that. Okay? And then this form is what we use when we have 2 points. And we're trying to find the slope of a line so that we can write the equation for it. That's when we use this one. Okay? It's 2 different equations, one for each situation. You have to pick the one that works best for what you're doing. All right, this is surefire way to make sure you can graph. If you follow this 5-step program every single time, you will never miss a graph. Okay, first step is you have to use algebra to find the slope-intercept form. The easiest way to graph is to put it in slope-intercept form. I can graph it other ways, but that's the easiest. Okay? Once you've got it in slope-intercept form, then you can go to number 2 and you can find the slope and the y-intercept. And we start at the y-intercept, and I ask the question, where is this? It is on the y-axis. If you go left or right with the y-intercept, you are officially wrong already. Okay? Y-intercept goes up or down. And that's it. And you just put a dot. Okay? So you'll go up or down and you'll put a dot. All right, step 4. You're going to graph 2 more points using the slope. So this is the rise over run. Okay? If your slope is 1/2, you go up 1 over 2. If your slope is negative 4, you go down 4, right 1. And then you put 2 more points. I have you do 2 more so that you have 3 total. That way, if you happen to miscount one of them, you can redeem yourself. Okay? Connect the dots and extend the line. And I put no small lines. Lines extend forever, so I expect it to extend across the graph that you have on your paper. Okay? We won't take them forever, but I want big lines. I want to be able to see where they're going. We have rulers, so your lines can be straight. That would be a good thing. I don't want to see, a curve that almost looks like a circle. I want to see a straight line. All right, so let's try this. Is it in slope-intercept form? That's your first question. If you're not sure, pause it, look at your notes, then come back. All right, this is slope-intercept forms. Y equals mx plus b. This is your y-intercept. So we start there. We go up 2 and put a dot. And then this is your slope. You rise 3, run 4. So we go up 3 over 4. Up 3 over 4. You can also go down 3, left 4. And you notice it's still on the same line. Down 3, left 4. If you don't have a ruler, you can keep counting this all the way across your graph so that when you draw it, it just goes. You don't have to worry about it not being straight, okay? I'll do it here because it's really hard to do on a computer. You just trace it all the way across your graph. Okay? And there's your line. Should be review from last year. All right, next one. Is it in y-intercept plus y equals mx plus b form, slope-intercept form? This one is also in slope-intercept form. So we find b. B is -2, so we go down 2. And then your slope is -1/2. So you need to make sure your line slopes down from left to right. So we can go down 1 over 2, down 1 over 2, or we can go up 1 over 2. And it all does the same thing. Alright, and then you can just draw it in. So if you're doing this at home and you don't have a straight edge or a ruler, then your line is as good as it's going to get as long as you give it enough dots to go through it. Alright, this is standard form, and I know that the sophomores now, their teacher last year, taught them a little bit of standard form so you know what it looks like. Okay, maybe, I'm not sure about my incoming freshmen, but you should have seen it at some point. Okay, this is standard form. Standard form being the x and the y are on the same side of the equation and some sort of constant is on the right side of the equation. Sometimes you'll see where they put the constant on the left side too, and it all equals 0. But for us, x and y on the same side, constant on the right. Now, I have a couple of rules with this. This part is always positive. So when we write equations, we're going to make it positive. We may have to multiply by a -1 or something like that. Okay? I also have a rule in this equation, no fractions. So if we have a fraction in our equation, when we're writing equations, then we will go through and multiply by something and get rid of the fractions. Okay? That's coming. All right, to graph in standard form, probably the easiest way to do it, besides getting it in slope-intercept form, is to find the intercepts of the line. And you guys should know that from last year because she taught you that the intercepts is where the line crosses the x and the y axis. Okay, so to find the x-intercept, you plug in 0 for y and solve for x. So you'll have a point that's some number 0. And that's your x-intercept. And then to find the y-intercept, you're going to plug in 0 for x and solve for y. So you'll have some point that's 0, some number. And that's your y-intercept. Okay, and you can use those 2 points to graph your line because you have 2 points and 2 points make a line. We have a postulate for that. All right, so let's practice a little bit of turning a standard form equation into slope-intercept form. We need y by itself. So first step would be to move the x over. And we know on the left, all we have left is negative 2y. And on the right, we cannot take 9 minus 4x and get 5x. It doesn't work that way. So we have to leave both parts over there. So we have negative 4x plus 9. I leave them separate like that, and I put them in that order because it works better. All right, to get y completely by itself, we divide everything by negative 2. And we get y equals, well, negative 4 divided by negative 2 is just 2x. And then 9 divided by negative 2 doesn't happen evenly, so we'll just put minus 9/2. If we were graphing, we'd put 4.5. That way we could do a y-intercept at 4.5. Okay, so now it's in slope-intercept form. All right, same thing with this one. I need y by itself. This one looks a little bit easier. I'm going to move my 5x to the other side. And all I have left on the left side is y. And on the right side, I have 5x minus 3. Totally graphable equation. All right, so let's try a graphing one. This is standard form. Maybe we should try it by intercepts. Let's try that first. If I put in a 0 for x, so the 6x is gone, then I have 3y equals 12, right? So it would look like this. So then y has to be 4. So then we have a point 0, 4. All right, this point is on our line already. Let's say we plug in 0 for y. So we'd have 6x plus 0 equals 12. Then x has to be 2. So we have 2, 0 as a point on our line. So then we can just take, and draw our line through those 2 points because we have a postulate that says 2 points make a line. Okay, if that's tougher for you to plug in zeros and figure out what the intercepts are, you could take this and get y by itself, do slope-intercept form. You'll come out with the same line. You'll come out with a y-intercept of 4, and you'll come out with a slope of 2, of negative 2. All right, same deal with this one. Let's try the intercepts. So if we plug in 0, we have 0 plus 4y equals negative 8. So then y equals negative 2. So 0, negative 2 is a point on our line. That point right there. And if we plug in 0 for y, we've got negative 2x plus 0 equals negative 8. So x equals 4. So 4, 0 is on our line also. So 4, 0 is over here. And we can draw a line through that. Okay. This all should still be review. So hopefully it still is. And this is another, since this is in standard form, you can do it by intercepts like we did, or you can do it by slope-intercept form. You're going to get the same line either way. All right. This form, I'm not sure how many of you have seen before, but it's just another form of a line. It's called point-slope form. So the x1 and the y1 in this equation are from a given point in the problem. And when we write equations, you'll see what I mean by that. And then m is slope. And then the y and the x with no subscript just kind of sit there and hold a spot, because they are all of the x's and y's that are on the line. Okay? When we write equations, this is the form I'll start with because it's easier. All right? So let's graph one in slope-intercept form, or point slope form. Okay? You can do this two ways. You can graph it straight from the point slope, or you can do the algebra to it and get it into slope intercept form. You'll end up doing the same thing. Okay? Point slope form, let me write it out underneath so we can see what's going on. Okay? We have a point and a slope in this equation right now. Here's your slope. It's real easy to find because it kind of just sits out in front of the parentheses. Okay? Your x is right here, but it's minus x1. So how do we get a plus 3 if we're subtracting something? It has to be minus a negative. So x1 is negative 3. And then y1 is just 3 because it's minus 3 up here, minus y1. So those have to be just 3. So that means the point negative 3, 3 is on our line. So we can go negative 3, 3. This point right here is on our line according to that equation. And then our slope is 2. We can do a slope of 2 right from this point. So we can go up 2 over 1, up 2 over 1, up 2 over 1, and draw our line in. Okay? Now what if you're sitting at home and you say, but Mrs. G, I don't know what you're talking about here. That didn't make any sense at all. I would rather do it by slope-intercept form. I say, okay, how do we do slope-intercept form? We have to look at it, say we have parentheses to get rid of, so we need to distribute. Okay? So we distribute the 2, and we get 2x plus 6. Make sure if you're going to distribute, it's got to go to everything in the parentheses. Then we got to get y by itself, so we got to add 3 to both sides. And we get y equals 2x plus 9. Now, is that the same equation as that line? That's the question. Our y-intercept is 9, so we count up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And then our slope is 2. So we go up 2 over 1, up 2 over 1, or we go down 2, left 1, down 2, left 1, down 2, left 1. Same graph, either way. Alright, let's do one more. This one has a 1/2 as our slope. So maybe you look at it, you say, man, I got that point slope form figured out. I know my point is -4, -4, and I know my slope is 1/2, so I go up 1 over 2, and I've got my line already. And you say, wow, I am just cool like that. But then some of you say, I really don't understand how she pulled those numbers out of that equation. So then we go and we distribute. So we get y plus 4 equals 1/2 x plus 2. And then we subtract 4 from both sides. And we get y equals 1/2 x minus 2. So then your y-intercept is -2. You go down 2. You put a dot. And then your slope is 1/2. So you go up 1 over 2. Look at that. Or down 1 over 2. Ta-da. Okay? I don't care how you graph it. I just want the correct graph. Do something that you're good at. Okay?